know me by now, and many of you might also not know me. I'm basically a research scholar, so I'm still pursuing my PhD. The purpose of coming to this conference was to learn or gather different perspectives on the concept of non-killing and global peace. So, first of all, can anyone explain what do they understand by the word peace? Especially it is directed to the younger ones.
Tomorrow is that side.
Anything you can say.
Something right now.
Okay. Okay, nothing as of.
Shanti.
हाँ, शांति कैसे बोला? शांति. Okay. Anyone from
Conflict solving.
conflict solving? Okay, that's an interesting point.
Without war.
Without war.
There is
Okay.
Solving conflict with war.
Yes.
So without war.
readiness for compromise.
Okay. So, silence. Silence.
Mind is
Okay.
stable.
Huh?
Mind is stable. Mind is stable. दिमाग की
Stability of the mind. Okay.
Silence will give positive energy.
Silence which gives positive energy. Okay. So, I'll just explain in 2 lines. Peace is external as well as internal. Okay. And peace is not always comes in the times of war or conflicts. Peace is there even at the time when there is no conflict or war. So how is peace prevalent there? Because in such a condition, you basically help in developing each other. It's what we say interdependence, a system of interdependence. I think in the morning, every man spoke about interdependence and independence. So we all of us look to independence as a very empowering word. But actually, independence is something which makes us go in isolation. Okay, so I'll get back to it later. As you see, the title is non-killing. So first and foremost question that comes is, why do humans kill? Please. Why do humans kill?
Kill each other.
For power.
To show themselves sometimes. To show
dominance.
Revenge.
Revenge.
Need of money.
Sometimes security.
Security. Safety.
To discharge.
To discharge. Do humans? Yes. So,
To own land or property.
so is fear a driving aspect to killing?
Down the line.
Basically, fear is also a factor. I'll just explain to. I think most of the Indian students will get, because I'm giving an example of an Indian movie. Has anyone seen 2 और 2 5 शशि कपूर और अमिताभ बच्चन की? देखिए? उसमें एक scene है when both Shashi Kapoor and Amitabh Bachchan confess to each other that why did they want to kill each other. They say that, I'm just translating it, I feared you, that's why I wanted to kill you. You were fearful of me, so you tried to kill me. But the thing is, we both, and in this competition, we were actually trying to show ourselves very powerful. But actually we are not powerful, we are very weak. And that's why whenever there is vulnerability in us, that we fear something might happen to us. subdue the other, suppress the other person, because we believe if we do not do that, the other person will suppress us. I'll just get now. Can you explain what are the different types? Can you cite an example? What are the different types of killings? Types of killings. Huh?
Murder.
Homicide.
Culpable homicide, yeah. Lawful answer.
Genocide, yes. Genocide.
Hanging.
Killing, yes. Yes.
Hanging.
You can kill someone emotionally. Can you elaborate how?
Like if you hurt someone, their feelings, so their emotion and the happy part of them dies.
Okay. Does anyone consider suicide as killing? No, but who do you hold responsible for suicide? The person who committed it?
The situation, the condition he is in.
Okay.
He or she.
So I'll just explain a bit. I have prepared a small abstract and I'm going to prepare a paper on it. Basically, we are preparing a non-killing index.
What's the topic of your research? Only this? Non-killing and...
The topic of my complete topic is non-killing and global peace, emerging paradigms and prospects.
Emerging
Paradigms and prospects. Okay. So, the paper which I have prepared, many of us must have or may not have heard of a global peace index. That also accounts for as to how, what are the types of killings going around the world, what are the situations, if nations are selling weapons, that's also coming, but they have not included suicide as a part of, you can say a peaceful society, as a feature of a peaceful society. So when we took out the suicide rate, we found most of the developed nations, the European nations were facing the highest suicide rates. And in Japan, people are committing suicide because of isolation. And Japan is one of the highest countries where suicides are committed. India also is I can say India is some of the top 20 countries where suicide happens. North Europe. Okay. So nobody talks about suicide as to if it's a problem. People say it is psychological problem mostly. That people fail in love affair, or people fail in their exams. Isolation, yes.
zeroing down the interest.
But most of you must have heard 10th, 12th ke jab bhi, whenever there is a CBSE or ICSE exams, students do not perform according to what was expected out of them. They commit suicide. So whenever such exams would happen,
We have a counseling.
you'll have newspapers that somewhere this person committed suicide, somewhere another person committed suicide. So basically, suicide is a neglected portion of a peaceful society. So if you draw comparison between homicide rate and suicide rate, you will find societies where homicide is highest, there are no suicides. And where suicide are highest, you will find homicide are negligible. Only in some places it's like it's imbalance. Now, so coming back to the topic, non-killing. Basically, non-killing is not my idea or my terminology. If you look up at the dictionary, you will not find this word non-killing because it is an innovation made by Dr. Glenn D. Page. He is the founding. He has passed away this year only. is the founding person of this organization, which is known as Center for Global Non-Killing. Okay, I'm sorry, I'm making it very boring.
It's interesting. It's going good.
Okay. So he wrote a book which is called as Non-Killing Global Political Science. I would like to bring this up. Yesterday also Amita ma'am was there. She is in political science. She said that political science is a dead subject. Nowadays nobody takes it up because you have no scope in it. So the thing is, what I feel is anything is dead or alive by our own contribution. Yes, you want to say?
I read the news today, something like social politics, and that is a course, new course, which Mumbai University came up with, and they have a set of 20 or 40 students, I'm not exactly the number, and IIM pass outs are there, like and BJP, this RSS, they are running this course, how to lead. I'm not exactly with the terminology, you can see it in the newspaper. It is like reviving this particular sector. You also read this, no? ये बिल्कुल उसको ही relate करते हुए, but now the things like that, आप politics की बात करो, whatever is like done, but how to influence people, how Modi why he is so influential? It's not he. The slogans, the small things given by a team. It's not only he, but the people. All of you must have read the case study of this government. No? It's a team of IIM who got it done. So behind like politics also intelligence. Isn't it? Intelligence is like if you are intelligent, if you are able to communicate, that way you can overcome. And one more thing related to fear, no? One of the English writer, A.G. Gardner. He said fear it's a subjective thing. It's not objective, it's subjective. It's in the mind, between these two ears. Because of that, whatever we used to do, it is because of the thing which we develop in the mind, and because of that development, whatever we do, that is like, because of the fear in the mind, people do whatever they are doing. I have so many examples, but it's going to go too long. You take this.
Okay. As Avi said, there is genocide. You mentioned genocide.
Essays.
How many of you understand what is genocide? Okay. आप लोग? You do not understand what the term genocide means?
On courage, on fear,
Suicide, a person commits
on
suicide
habits.
not because they are facing some problem, but they commit a suicide because no one is there to motivate them or support them in the situation.
I'll tell you why a person commits suicide. A person commits suicide when he feels he has been come down to a level from which he cannot rise. He feels he thinks that he cannot gather any support either from his family or from his friends. It's like a pit of darkness for him.
But the problem is society, you know, that the society doesn't support his friends.
Yes.
He doesn't understand that what.
Yes, it is actually the problem of society. It is not the problem of the individual. It is the problem of society. But we as a society do not take responsibility. We say that person was psychologically not sound, so he committed suicide. That's what we say. A person who commits suicide.
He has one more something to say.
Blue whale game.
Blue whale game. Okay, yes, I was expecting this.
This is, I think, the best and innovative, latest answer.
Blue whale
Contemporary
game.
answer.
I think everyone knows blue whale game.
Yeah.
Has anyone played it?
How it is played? How
Who
can
has played it? Someone said yes.
No, I just want you should send it to me.
मैडम मैं
And the बाद today onwards.
देखो खेल भी लेना पर 7th लेवल तक मत जाना और 7th लेवल तक जिसको पहुंचाना
हाँ, अब बैन हो गया है। बैन हो गया है।
अरे पायरेट टॉपिक के बारे में क्या
Just kidding.
डिप्रेशन की वजह से बहुत से लोग ब्लू वेल गेम खेल रहे हैं और ब्लू वेल गेम डिप्रेशन में डालता भी है बहुत
Actually, it is forwarded to those people. It's not like you can download on your own.
Okay.
They keep on like watching you people. They keep on gathering information related to you people, like you children. And when they feel like you are the one who is like isolated, and you are the right person whom they should, so they are going to select a person who is going to send you the link for that. It's not you who is going to choose. I want to play. You can't play on your own. They collect the information, and after that they send the link, and then you are trapped there.
Okay.
And the reasons for suicide, as you said, I feel there are two. There may be many other reasons, but two opposite reasons are there. One is one person either in very lows, or one person either in very highs. With lows I mean in depression. With highs I mean anxiety. Quite a contradiction. You are hyper. Even being overactive also is not a right condition to be at. Most of the times, and if you are ever hyper, you are going wrong. If you are ever down, you are going wrong. I even read in one of the this medical journals only that after depression, OCD, obsessive compulsive disorder, is the number 2 biggest problem, which is leading people to go out of their control, self-control, and leading to some these kind of nonsenses. So I feel any kind of abnormality. In Hindi there is a kahavat ati sarvatra varjit. हर तरीके के excess of everything is bad. So even of excess of depression or excess of anxiety, everything goes wrong, I feel.
As you said about OCD, there is another thing, PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. This happens when individuals participate in war. First of all, I would like to ask very basic question. How many of you, just raise your hand, how many of you think killing is a natural phenomena in human beings? I mean, it is natural phenomenon.
Obviously it comes. See, natural reason can be any, but it's a natural phenomenon.
Killing is natural.
It comes in killing insects or
You tell me,
something.
if I love myself, if I love myself, killing is very obviously natural. See, killing doesn't mean I'm killing a human being or someone. Even if I know a mosquito can be harmful for my life, I will certainly not hesitate to kill. And if I feel, despite all trials, a human being is harmful to my life, I may do something for that. I may. So it depends obviously how much you are concerned about. If you love yourself, you may go to anything.
Okay. So, ma'am said that you believe that killing is a natural phenomena because if certain thing happens, now I would like to further dig deep. What do you consider as natural and what do you consider as unnatural?
I feel natural is something that is instant and comes automatically, it's not drafted. And unnatural is something that is you are chalking out a plan and then you are executing. Yes, in your lawful language it can be called blooded murder. See, that's what I said. When she said homicide, I said culpable homicide is different and murder is different.
I think that culture is non-nature, but it's the most important. So killing, maybe it's nature, but natural, but to be cultural person is not to kill. So if you are thinking and you can stop your drives, you become a cultural person. So to kill is to be just to act with your drives. And I expect that my brain will to minimize my drives, my brain.
So, just let me explain you when the first killing actually in ancient history as to when killings actually started happening as a natural phenomenon. It was not until civilizations were formed that killing actually occurred. It means that when people were living in tribal groups without any form of civilization or any hierarchical structure in the society, killing never occurred. Killing occurred when there were civilization and groups of people as to them and us. When the concept of them and us came, that was the time when killing started to occur, and killing was accepted as something natural. But tell me something, if you do something natural which is expected out of you, should you feel ashamed of it?
See, the feeling of guilt and ashamed again depends, it's quite an individual phenomenon, I feel. If I know if my action is well justified, suppose, in Hindi movies you must have seen, I don't know, I cannot quote any movie, I don't remember. Suppose someone is blackmailing you, okay, and it may affect your relationship, it may affect your life, or someone is doing something that may affect your life, or it may create a danger for your life, and if you are taking some action against that, I don't feel so any kind of guilt or any kind of ashamed feeling should ideally come to that person. It is well taken, and even it's legal also. Even our law permits that.
When you kill in self-defense.
In self-defense.
In self-defense, yes, you can do that.
Yeah, but that depends how and when you are taking action. So guilt is always not associated with killing.
Okay, now you said use the word self-defense. Now I'll just give you a statement. Rome conquered the world in self-defense.
No, conquering someone and self-defense again are contradictory words. I am conquering someone, that means I have an intention to supersede someone. But I am defending myself and saving myself. In that case, my behavior will never be a conquering behavior.
Yes, I agree with your point that. Sorry to interrupt.
Regarding killing and when killing can be, justified and all, I think that killing in itself, not killing is a general phenomena. We as human beings, we are not wired to just kill people because we have already passed that phase of the evolution and everything. I think killing is an exception. So, and that exception is justified through self-defense. But even in name of self-defense, we cannot even law does provide that in certain situations killing is justified based on the principle of self-defense, but it's not absolute. For example, you have to use the level of force that the perpetrator has used against you. So it means that if the other person is threatening you through their words, it does not mean that you can use a higher degree of retaliation. So even legally and I think even nationally, not killing is a general phenomena and killing is an exception.
I think she narrated it in a better way.
Killing is very natural for
Let me re-clear myself.
I want to answer you about shame. Shame is part of development. It's when people is self.
But I just want to make myself clear again that even I said that after a degree of having given trials and of explaining or making a patch up, pace up or negotiation, still if something goes wrong and if I am taking such a step, I at least will not feel guilty about it, honestly speaking. So to me, that at that extreme, it's a natural thing. Right? By the time it doesn't remain natural, right? It becomes.
Now I'll just say, killing is not natural. I like to disagree. Killing is reactive because it's not something you decide with with a good mind that okay, today I'm going to get up and I'm going to kill this person and then I'm going to come back. It is reactive. The reaction comes in the form of you are being humiliated for something, you have been suppressed for something, and you want to take revenge. You want to come up to that level of the person and you want to show the other person that I also have power. I am not a weak person. Okay, so it is reactive where people want to show that they are the one who have power and not you. So if you are trying to suppress me, it's not going to go well. But since when people started this reaction process, nobody questioned it. For a long time it was okay, because this one group suppressed the other, so they in retaliation killed them. So it is okay because they tried to suppress them and it was only a reaction. So you cannot control reactions. If you want to stop killing, you have to stop those actions. Now see, if everyone, the thing is, if each one of us start thinking that, I am not responsible, the other person is responsible. So that way we do not take our own responsibility and we commit actions which have lethal consequences. And this becomes like a chain reaction. I kills, many of you must have gone through the epic Mahabharata. Serial also must have witnessed. What that serial actually showed, that there was one family who was very good, another one was with corrupt people and evil people, and with one form of killing by treachery, one party killed the other person treacherously. For killing happens mostly, we say that it is only due to land, property and lady that killings take place. That's the conception, that it is for possessions that killings take place. And unfortunately, even human beings like a woman is treated as a possession. So this basically, the purpose of the epic was to show that how when you run after possessions, you end up killing into each other, and once you kill all of them, there will be nothing actually left to do. So if you keep saying that, no, I did not do this, I just did because of a reaction, and I hold no responsibility because this was the condition. Well, what I feel is people do not have the courage to accept their responsibility. They want to pass on the responsibility on the other person, and when the other person sees that, okay, I am being held responsible for suppression, then he would cite another case from back history that you tried to suppress me at that point of time, so I tried to suppress you again. So you go by this, there will be a chain of events, and probably the chain of events would go so much back that you would not even be able to recall as to who actually committed the wrong in the initial stage. So it does not matter as to who was wrong in the first place. What matters is who was able to stop it and reform it, because that requires courage. Because if something is done to you and you do not react back in the same way, that requires courage. Because if someone comes and hits me in front of the public, I will feel humiliated and I would like to do the same thing back. Okay, but the thing is, when we both would do the same thing, the people watching us would think us to be okay. Both of them belong to the same category. No one can be defended. So no one will come to our help. People will say, okay, if we help them, the other person might feel offended, and they cannot differentiate. Only when there is a fight, people always try to come. You see, when there is a fight between nations like India, Pakistan, India, China, and different countries, when they fight, there are different nations siding with different nations, because they somewhere feel that this nation is right in what they are doing, and the other parties feel this nation is right in their own thing. Yes.
I just want to object one point.
Connected two things, like the killing is because of Jal, Jolu and Jamil, and at the same time, possession, and at the same time you quoted the example of Mahabharata. Have you been gone through the epic? It's such a big, no, you can't quote that example. You can't quote that example because the fight in the Mahabharata was not because of a lady. No, No, that was actually what we talk about. Dignity, ego, and the thin line between dignity and ego. How the ego of a person is hurt and how ego के पहले dignity होती है. उसकी dignity जब affect होती है तो उसका ego आ जाता है. There is a thin line between ego and dignity, isn't it? And the fight in the Mahabharata was not for the female character. It was because of the ego which was hurt, isn't it? The ego of whom? I want to hear from youngsters. Please, ego. द्रौपदी का ईगो क्या था? फीमेल कैरेक्टर की ईगो
द्रौपदी का ईगो नहीं था. द्रौपदी ने एक स्टेटमेंट कह दिया था दुर्योधन को कि अंधे का पुत्र अंधा है. ईगो हर्ट हो गया था.
Ego hurt हो गया. That was, we were discussing, no? I was discussing with Parth in the break. That is, they constructed, everything was sorted out. At times they tried to sort out so many things. And when it was almost sorted, Pandavas constructed Mahal, like a huge Mahal, and because it was like a, what we call? Illusion, yes. And that's why when the place was like, it was not, water was not there, and the place where mirage. And water was not there, you will feel like water is there. And if water is there, you will not be able to recognize that water is there. And he was like walking, Duryodhan was walking and he walked. And he was not knowing actually there is water. So he was already wet. And then he moved ahead. See, I want to communicate one important thing from this example, which I tried to, but because of the topic, no. She laughed. Who laughed? Draupadi laughed at Duryodhan. मतलब आपके, what do you do? Your body language. We were talking about non-verbal communication. We talked about so many things. Because Draupadi laughed that time. That was the non-verbal communication to Duryodhan which hurt his ego, and he planned everything. That way the Mahabharata moved on with the fight and all. So non-verbal communication, our behavior, and when we were discussing in between the group, no, I quoted one line which my mother used to say: always put yourself in others' position. Always put yourself, then you are not going to hurt anyone. If you are putting yourself at others' position, you are going to take it in a positive manner. If I would have been at that place, what I would have done? Yeah, how would I would have been? So please, it's a request. You read the epic, both the epics.
I have it. I just want to clarify something. Actually, I have read it as a part of my course curriculum. It was a part of my school syllabus. So I had to go through it from the start. So I disagree with you on certain points. I disagree because the first attempt on the life of one of the main characters of Mahabharata was made when he was a child. That was Bhim. He was, his cousin brothers tried to kill him. Okay, I'll just give a backdrop as to who does not know the epic because it becomes boring then. There were two families. There was a father. He had two sons. One son was, disabled by he could not see properly, and the other one was a bit weak in physical aspect. So what happened was, kings pass on their legacy as to who would be the next king. So the person who was blind, he was the elder son, and the person who was physically weak, he was the younger son. So normally it happens that the elder son gets the legacy of being called the king. And what happened was, the elder son did not get this legacy of being called a king. And his name was Dhritarashtra. He was very unhappy with this because he felt that he does not have the capability to see. That's why he is deprived of from becoming a king. So he was very, you can say, sore towards his brothers. So what happened? His brother also left for a period of while. What do you say? When was exile. He had gone to exile, and that blind king, he became a temporary king in the meanwhile when he was in exile. So when his exile period was over, he was supposed to be coming back and taking his power. But what happened was he died in the meantime. And then it was again thought that who would be the next ruler. So again it was by being the elder sons, the sons of Dhritarashtra were supposed to become the king. But since they did not possess much good qualities, while as the younger sons, what was his name? Pandu. The younger brother's sons were very skilled. He had only 5 sons. And they were like very, very intelligent, very humble and very respectful. So on that basis, it was Dhritarashtra feared, and even his sons feared that if these sons will grow up, they will become the king. So when they were when they were children, they were sent to some boarding hostel for training and all. Over there, the younger sons tried to kill one of their cousins whom they considered very powerful, and they made some attempts to kill. So could you explain why did they make those attempt to kill? They actually tried to kill.
I am not talking about these attempts. I am talking about the main fight, which was at Kurukshetra. That was no way for all this. Like the main Mahabharata fight.
See, we think that whatever war is going right now in front of us, we only think of the immediate cause. That's what I want to say.
I'm saying the example which you quoted at the place, that is not like the right place to quote. You can take the example of Mahabharata for killing, for possession and all, but that is not the right example. Mahabharata का main fight जो कुरुक्षेत्र का है, वो महाभारत का fight है. आप सारे examples लेते हो ना तो that's it.
Ma'am, actually what we want to say is there is a lot of misconception about the causes of wars. We see the cause of war as to what was the immediate happening or what were the immediate events. We need to understand why even those immediate events occurred in the first place. Because war is a signal where everything, you can say, the line of ethics has been crossed everywhere. Okay. So you need to go back and see where were all these lines of ethics crossed. So when an attempt on someone's life is made, is it not crossing your boundary?
But no, I'm taking it as a philosophy. I'm talking about feminism.
Yeah, please.
Good afternoon, sir. Can we have a round of applause for VC sir, Ravi uncle, Mahen uncle? Please.
One of the directors at this campus.
40 years.
And his father also.
Mr. Pradesh.
Yeah, we met yesterday. Yeah, yesterday.
And he's Dr. Swaru.
These two books are for you.
दक्षिणा में
Can we have a photograph of all of them? Right there. Yes.